So tomorrow night is Tisha B'Av, and the topic we will be discussing today is the mahus, the essence of Tanis and Tisha B'Av. The source in Chazal is in Tanis Daf Lamed Omed Aleph. Kol ha-mitzvos hanoyegois ba'ovel, noyegois v'Tisha B'Av. Osa v'achila v'shtiya v'rechitza v'sicha v'tashim shamita v'nidas ha-sandal v'osa likroi v'neviim v'torah neviim v'ksuvim v'mishnah v'talmud. So Tisha B'Av is a day of mourning. So we discussed the many different concepts and haggadoros of fast days, but today we focus on Tisha B'Av. So Tisha B'Av is about Avelis. And many Rishonim and Achronim wonder, the Brisa starts off, Kol ha-mitzvos hanoyeges ba'ovel noyeges v'Tisha B'Av, osa b'achila v'shtiyah. But Tisha B'Av, there is no Issa Achila V'Shtiyah. Towards the bottom of the page, towards the bottom of this page, Lamed Omed Aleph, we need to scroll down. Here we are. Tanu Rabbanon. Tanu Rabbanon, fourth line from the broad Shulis.
Fourth wide line.
There we are. Tana Rabbanon. Kol ha-mitzvos hanoyeges ba'ovel noyeges v'Tisha B'Av. Osa b'achila v'shtiyah v'sicha v'n. But ovel is mutar b'achila v'shtiyah. There is no isser achila v'shtiyah by an ovel. So obviously, as I explained in our previous shiur, yes, an ovel is allowed to eat and allowed to drink. But this specific avelis is an addition. All the other Chamisha Inuyim are Avelos. The Issa to learn Torah is about Avelos, and Avel is not allowed to learn because Kudei Hashem Yishorim Esam Chilei. Achila V'Shtiyah is unique to Tisha B'Av. And maybe it is because you cannot fast 7 days. The Yerushalmi in Masechet Chala tells the story. The father of Reb Shmuel Bar Yitzchak was Machmi Yom Kippur. He fasted 2 days, Mishum Seika the Yom, and he died the second day. So, but fundamentally, what we learn from this Brisa is Chamishu Inuyim are also Tisha B'Av because Avelos. Now, Chamishu Inuyim are also in Yom Kippurim. And we do find 2 seifim in Shulchan Aruch in which Din Tisha B'Av Kedin Yom Kippur. Tov Kuf Nun Gimel Siv Beis. Maybe we should try to have it on our screen. Shulchan Aruch Tov Kuf Nun Gimel Siv Beis. We learned that Tisha B'Av is different than the other 3 fast days. The other 3 fast days are Tisha B'Av Leila Ki Yomer L'Chol Davar. ואין אוכלם אלו מבעוד יום, ובין השמושה שלו עשו כיום הכיפורים. So this is one sif in Shulchan Aruch, in which we see that Tisha B'Av has the chumrah of Yom Kippur. Tov Kuf Nun Daled, sif Vav, or sif Hey. Tov Kuf Nun Daled, sif Hey. Uborois Umenikois, Mesanois, Umashlimos, Betisha B'Av, Kederach Shemesanois, Umashlimos, B'Yom Kippur. Do you see Sifei? Uboris Umenikois, that means pregnant women and nursing women that nurse their babies. Mesanois, Betisha B'Av, Kederach Shemesanois, Umashlimos, B'Yom Kippurim. So we have 2 distinct halachas in which we see Tisha B'Av has the chumrah of Yom Kippur. The other 3 fast days don't have these 2 chumras. Shavuos v'Tamas, Asor v'Teves, Tzom Gedalia are only me'alois shachar at Seisek Yechovim, and pregnant and nursing women are exempt from the fast. So we see 2 halachas in which Tisha B'Av Dina Yom Kippurim, and therefore the question would be Chamishu Inuyim that are also in Tisha B'Av, Rechitza, Sicha, Me'ilis Sandal, are they also only Mishum Avelis, or maybe also because Yom HaKippurim? On the same page, let's scroll down two seifim to seif zayin. Tov kuf nun dalet seif zayin. Rechitza asura b'tisha b'av bein b'chamen bein b'tzoinen afilu lehoshit etzboi b'mayim also. You can't even dip your finger into water. So the Brisker Rov in Hilchas Taniyos, as well as the Minchas Chinuch and Shin Yud Gimel, have a big question. An oval is permitted to wash his hands and his face via Me'avelis. And if the Yisra Rechitza Tisha B'Av comes from Dinei Avelis, how is it possible Shatofar Chomer Mino Ikar? If an oval is entitled to wash his face and his hands, how come Tisha B'Av is more Chomer and Afiru Lahoshit Etzboi B'Mayim also? Only by Yom Kippur do we find Oseh Lahoshit Etzboi B'Mayim. And therefore the Brisker Rov says, Shnei Dinim Be'Isser Rechitza V'Tisha B'Av. So, if we mention the Brisker Rov, we could expect Shnei Dinim. Because very many Chidushim and Esbeirim and Yesodis of Reb Chaim and the Brisker Rov and all the other Gedolim Lebeit Brisk are based on the concept of Shnei Dinim. So the Brisker Rov. And before the Brisker Rov is actually a Minchas Chinuch in his own style, but the Brisker Rov says, Chamishu Inuyim in Tisha B'Av are also because two different reasons. And this issue comes from two different directions. On one hand, it's a Braisa Mesechet Tanis that we just saw. And the Braisa says, Kol ha-mitzvos ha-noeges ba'ovel, noeges v'tisha b'av, osa b'rechitza v'b'sicha. And on the other hand, the Brisker Rov argues, osa l'hoshit etzboi b'mayim. By ovel, we don't find that. So that comes from Yom Kippur. Generally speaking, we've been learning for years, and you probably heard from me more than once. I usually don't like the concept of Shnei Dinim. It is only when there's a Makor Mefurash in the Rishonim that usually I prefer one complicated din upon two simple ones. And to me, it is unreasonable to say that there are Shnei Dinim Be'Isser Rechitza V'Tisha B'Av. If we have a Mefurish Braisa in Tanis Daf Lamed, Kol ha-mitzvos shenoeges ba'ovel noeges v'tisha b'av, osa b'rechitza v'sicha, then mehechet teisa to say there is another reason as well. So let's have a look at the Perush Mishnah of the Rambam at the end of Masechet Tanis. L'cha'oira, at first glance, Vashkofa Rishoina, there's a raya from the Rambam to the Brisker Rov. So let's have a look at the Rambam at the end of Masechet Tanis. Perush HaMishnah. Not the Rambam, here we are. Umama she'ato tzorech ledas, shekol mitzvos hanoegos ba'ovel, noegos v'tisha b'av. V'yesbar lecho, hilchos ovel b'mkuman. V'din tani soy gedin, tanis soim kippur. Kilomar, so does the Rambam say that the reason the Isra Rechitza V'Sicha is because Din Tani Soike Din Tanis Tzom Kippur? And would that prove that the Brisker Rov and the Minchas Chinuch are right? I don't think so. I think the way to learn this Rambam is a bit more complex. The Rambam gives two assumptions. Assumption number one, and that's the Braisa. That's what we saw in the Gemara just a few minutes ago. Assumption number two, din tanisa kedin tanasan kippur. And now Kaloimar, he goes back to 1 and to 2. To 1 and to 2. Kaloimar. That is because Kol mitzvos hanoegos ba'ovel. Mosif ha'machor al ha'kodesh is because din tanisoi kedin soim kippur. So the two fundamental assumptions in the Reisha and the two halachas in the Sefer. Halacha number 1 goes back to Hanocha number one. Halacha number two goes back to Hanocha number two. I want to be medayik another diak in this Rambam. Din ta'nisoi kedin ta'nis tzoyim kippur. Tainus. All the halachas in which Tisha B'Av compares to Yom Kippur is only about tanis, not about rechitza, not about sicha, not about ne'ilas sandal, only tanis. And that is a more convincing diuk in Rambam. Din ta'nisoi kedin ta'nis tzoyim kippur. So there are three halachas in which we learn Tanis Tisha B'Av, Ketanis Yom Kippur. We saw two seifim in Shulchan Aruch. Seif number one, Tov Kuf Nun Gimel, Leiloi Ki Yoimoi, Beina Shemoshois. That includes Moisifin Mechol Ala Kodesh. We learn from Yom Kippur. Tishem Shesh Tesefes Yom Kippurim, Yesh Tesefes Gam B'Tisha B'Av. Leiloi Ki Yoimoi. All the other fast days are from the Alois, not from the Shkia. And the other din, Uborois Umenikois. So the comparison Tisha B'Av to Yom Kippur affects only Tanis, only fasting. Chamishu Einuyim comes only from Avelus. So how do we deal with the Briskalov's argument? Lo yoshit etzboi b'mayim. We don't find that aloch in Hilchos Avelus. The Ritvo deals with this question in Tanis Daf Yud Gimel. And I always teach my Talmidim how much we need to appreciate the pashtus and the yashlis, the glatkate of the Rishon. And that's what we need to try to emulate. So in hundreds of years, sometimes we have made the Torah more complicated than it needs to be. So the Ritva deals with this question. And the Ritva comes up with a very simple answer. Somewhat similar to what I said before about fasting and Avedis. So the Ritva says, Avedis is 7 days. 7 days, it's hard. Not to wash your hands and not to wash your face for 7 days. And that's why they weren't machmir kuli hai. However, Tisha B'Av is 1 day, is Shalamod b'zeh. So also ben b'chame ben b'tzom lenet b'am d'osel gam al filoi v'rechu d'loi plug gam ay domer b'lozo osel odom lo yishit etzboi b'Tisha B'Av kishem shosel Yom Kippurim. So the Gemara Psuchim does compare Tisha B'Av to Yom Kippurim, but I think the Ritva in the continuation of what he says, let's just see. It's easier for me to look at scroll down. I'm going to stand up and take a ritva out of my bookshelf because it'll be easier for me. Just a moment. I think we have it. Just a moment. Freeze.
It's there at the end in the last paragraph, quite a Rav.
Yes.
But I
don't see where he explains that the reason they were machmir b'Tisha B'Av is because it's 1 day. Just 1 minute. I'm going to be right back.
Scroll it, Pesach, scroll it. Scroll it down.
That's the bottom.
That's about okay. Then let's go. Let's look further up. I did not see this Ritva side either. further up. Further back.
Next page back. Next stop back.
Okay, so go back to the previous page.
Just one moment.
So stop here in this paragraph.
I apologize. It's going to take another moment.
It's on Daf Yud Gimel. It's on Daf Yud Gimel, Kvader Rav.
Did you find it?
Yes, it's on. We were looking in the wrong place. It's on Daf Yud Gimel.
Okay. Could you highlight it on the screen?
We're looking for exact words. Daf Yud Gimel.
In my sefer, I brought a few Gimel.
Yeah. Oh, I see. So, shall we look? Does anybody have? So, if you look at Daf Lamed, could be it's on Daf Lamed.
No, I think it's the few Gimel.
You're going too fast. You're going too fast, Pesach. You're going too fast.
This is not Tisha B'Av, though.
Yeah, that's the same sugi, Go back one paragraph. The paragraph before that was staring at that's only half. It's freeze there. I was freeze this one. Okay, I'm not sure. Yes, thank you, Rabbi Yaakov, but we're looking forward to see if it's mislabeled.
Okay, this is very uncommon that we spend so much time looking for something, and I apologize. If I would have more time to check every source before I sit down to give the shiur, would be more efficient.
Did we take it upon ourselves to find it and
Okay.
to go on? We'll find
Okay,
it.
yes. So I think we should move forward, and we'll try to fill this in after the shiur. So coming back to our fundamental discussion, what is the source of the Isser of Chamishu Inuyim? So we find in the Braisa it is about Dinei Avelus, and it should not be a wonder. And on one hand, the halachas of Tisha B'Av do not coincide entirely with Dinei Avelus. And Avel could eat and drink whatever he wants. Tisha B'Av is an Isser Achila V'Shtiyah. Tisha B'Av lo yoshit etzboi b'mayim, like Yom Kippur. However, an Ovel could wash his hands and face b'tzainon. So even though fundamentally, kol ha-mitzvos hanoeges b'Ovel noeges b'Tisha B'Av, but the protei, the details, do not necessarily coincide entirely. So, an interesting question that I was asked many years ago: a chayla is exempt from the tzayim of Tisha B'Av. Let's go back and have a look at Tov Kuf Nun Dalet Sivav. Chaya kol shloishim yoyim. So a chayla does not need to fast Tisha B'Av, even though he's a chayla she'ein bo sakana. Sivav, chaya kol shloishim yoyim. That means he yoledis. V'chein chayla she'tzorech lechol, ein tzorech oimeid, ela machilin oisem miyad. Yom Kippur, there's a din of Oimei. Yom Kippur, you need to ask a doctor. You need to consult a doctor. Is his life in jeopardy? How much does he need to eat? Would it be sufficient? Pochas mikashir. Tisha B'Av, there is no Oimed. And you do not need to be a chodesh yesh b'sakana. Machilan oisem miyad. The momokam choyle lo yigozru rabbanan. Reb Chaim Brisker and somewhat the Orcha Shulchan are medayik the loshen of the Shulchan Aruch. B'mukam choyle lo yigozru rabbanan. A choyle doesn't have any mitzvah to fast on Tisha B'Av. So a story is told, and it's so fitting for the Brisker Rav. Someone once told the Brisker Rav, he's not feeling well. His doctor said that he needs to fast on Tisha B'Av. However, his doctor said that he cannot fast on Tisha B'Av. He needs to eat and drink. But his plan is to be machmir, and he hopes he'll get away with it. He plans to fast on Tisha B'Av. So the Brisker Rav told him, great, but don't forget Kabbalas Tanis b'mincha be'erev Tisha B'Av. What the Brisker Rav meant to say, if you plan to fast, go ahead. But it's not a Tanis Sivil, it's a Tanis Yochid. And a Tanis Yochid needs Kabbalas Tanis because you're ill. You don't have Tisha B'Av. B'mukim choyli loy gazu rabbonon. So the Brisker Rav said, if the doctor says you need to eat and you want to go ahead and fast, okay, but then you need Kabbalas Tanis erev Tisha B'Av. So that is a cute story, somewhat taken to the extreme. But Reb Chaim is medayik. It's in the stencil, not Reb Chaim al Rambam. B'mukam choyle lo yigozru rabbanan. That definitely doesn't fit in with the Ramah. Hago. The Ramah says, "Miu noyagin lesanes kol zman she'ein lem tzar godel she'oyo lochesh l'sakon." It is somewhat confusing. What does it mean, tzar godel she'oyo lochesh l'sakon? If there's a chashash sakona, even Yom Kippur, it's not a question at all. Pikuach nefesh doicher. So it is somewhat confusing when the Ramah says, "Noyagin lesanes," even if he's ill. V'amekel lo hifsid. Amekel lo hifsid. It's not a chiyuv, but noyagin lesanes. So the Ramah definitely doesn't fit in with the Reb Chaim Brisker. So according to Reb Chaim, there's a very clear, huge machlokes within the Mechaber and the Ramah. It's not only a question of minhag. According to the Mechaber, there's no mitzvah, no chumrah at all. And the Ramah says, no yadin li'instans. So the question I was asked is this: how do we define a choila and Tisha? So in my Svarim and the Tshuvis, I wrote a great deal about this. We find in 3 different areas in Shulchan Aruch a kula for a choila she'ein bo sakana. Hilchos Shabbos Shin Chof Ches Yud Zayin, choila she'ein bo sakana, mutar amira lenach. Psachim Chof Daled Amid Beis, Yoredei Kuf Nun Zayin, choila she'ein bo sakana, is entitled to eat machoras asuros shel asurim midirabanan. Number 3, our sif that we're learning right now. Chodesh tzorech lechol, ein tzorech oimed. Mutaloi lechol b'Tisha B'Av. It is only in Hilchos Shabbos that we find the definition of a chodesh she'ein bo sakana. Mechaber says nufal mishkav. The Ramah writes chol kol gufay. If we wish, we could scroll to Shabbos, Hilchos Shabbos, Shin Chof Ches Yud Zayin. And I explained many times, I don't think it's a machlokes between the Mechaber and the Ramah. The Mechaber says Nafal HaMishkav, and the Ramah says Nafal HaMishkav is relative. I know some people that to them, the horizontal position, which is lying, is more natural than the vertical one. And just give them an alibi. Just give them any reason, any teretz, and they'll be happy to be in bed all day and all night. Other people are hyperactive. You'll never find them in bed. They'll always be running around. So the concept, Yud Zayin, Sif Yud Zayin. So the concept of Nafal HaMishkav says that Ramah is not a clear concept. What does Nafal LeMishkav mean? So the Ramah gives another interpretation. Chayla kol gufoy. Let's look at the first line in this sif. Shin chof ches sif yud zayin. I just saw it on the screen a moment ago. Chayla shenufal machmas chayla LeMishkav ve'ein bo sakana. Yesh oimrim. Oimrim le'ein Yehudi lasas lo lefua. Chazal were permissible, Amir Anochri, for Chodesh she'ein bo sakana shel Nafal HaMishkav. The Ramah writes, O sheyesh lo meicher shemitzta'er v'chol ha'memenu kol gufoy. Shaz, afal pi shoylech, kenofal HaMishkav domi. So I don't think it's a machlokes. The Ramah explains, Nafal HaMishkav doesn't mean literally. Doesn't depend whether he's in bed or not. That doesn't make sense. As I said just a moment ago, some people are really happy to be in bed. Just give him a teretz, just give him a reason. And others will never be in bed. So the Ramah's definition is a general feeling of malaise, a general feeling of choili. When you have the flu, or you have COVID, or you have a high fever, you just feel sick. You feel aroused. That is the gather of a choile she'ein bo sakana. You have a toothache, your ear hurts. That is not Nafal HaMishkav, unless it's intense pain. Nafal HaMishkav explains that Ramah is chola kol gufoy. But we do not find the definition of a choila in Hilchos Tisha B'Av, and neither in Yoredei in the dinam of machoras asuros. So the definition we find in Shabbos, is that relevant to other areas of halacha as well, or not? This is a machlokes of Shemazal Melech Moshe, big tumult. And I brought sources in my sefer, and the most important source is Shiur Ramah. The gather of Chodesh she'ein bo sakana and Shabbos is relevant to Tisha B'Av as well. So let's go back to our question. A person feels really bad. So many times in a fast day, a person comes to me and says, I'm not feeling well. Do I need to fast? And I say, the reason we fast is because we're not supposed to feel well. That is exactly why we fast. Because in this terrible day of Purim Beis Hamikdash, you should not feel well. That's what it's all about. However, when something is extreme, so this person has been fasting all the fast days for 30 years. And he knows how he usually feels. But this time he feels awful. It's beyond what he expects when he fasts. And that could be the gather of Nufal Mishkav Cholakol. So the question is, I think if I take a cold shower, I won't need to drink. Is it preferable to shower, is a rechitza, to prevent the need of a chila v'shtir? So Yom Kippur, a chila v'shtir is kores, rechitza is a machlokes rishonim whether it's osem in a Torah or osem in the Rabbanan. So if the same shaila would be in Yom Kippur, we definitely would say a kal tchila. Better take a shower, which is only an issa the Rabbanan or an issa the Oraisa, but definitely not kores, to prevent the need to drink. But Tisha B'Av, l'chayla, they're the same. The fact that Yom Kippur, there's a huge difference between Shtia and Lechitza, does not reflect on Tisha B'Av as well. So I wrote a tshuva about this, but the point I want to make now is sometimes there are shaylas which are fascinating, interesting, just a springboard for discussion. But this question is not a real question. It is not really relevant to halacha. When you fast and you feel awful, that is because you're becoming dehydrated and your body demands fluids. Sometimes dehydration could be terrible. People could die from dehydration. But not when there's a slight dehydration. So when you feel terribly thirsty, it's because you are dehydrated. When you take a shower, the water doesn't go beyond your skin. Yes, our skin is porous. Our skin breathes. But the water, when you take a bath or a shower, doesn't leak into your system, into your body, into your vital organs. So if you're going to shower, it's going to give you some comfort for 10 minutes, for 15 minutes, for 20 minutes. It won't solve your problem. And if you are dehydrated, in a short while after that shower, you will need to drink once again. So there's no really any justification to be matar rechitza. Anyway, you're going to need to be matar shtir. So it's a fascinating question. Like many other questions, it's not a real question, and it really has no halacha l'maisa ramifications because showering will not prevent the need to eat or drink. So today we discussed.
What about the night? What about the shiloh of night and day?
Oh, so in my sefer I brought a gewaltige chiddush from the Nazir Shimshon. So Nazir Shimshon is one of the chashuvas form on Shulchan Aruch Chaim. So I don't know, maybe we could have it on our screen, the Nazir Shimshon. In my Shulchan Aruch, it's actually printed Tov Kuf Nun Dalet. A gewaltige chiddush we find in this chashuva sefer. And he says, if a person knows he can't fast the entire day in Tisha B'Av, he has a kidney problem, he's a recipient of a new kidney or a donor of a kidney recently, and these people cannot fast, they need a lot of fluids, a lot of water in their body. He feels relatively well, but he knows doctor's orders, he cannot and he should not fast on Tisha B'Av. So the Mishnah Berurah says, as long as you could fast, you fast. When you reach a stage you can't, then you break the fast. Tov Kuf Nun Daled Nazir Shimshon says.
Can Rav tell us about this? What's his name? He's from Ovazaran. Where is that?
I think it is somewhere in Germany, and he primarily deals a lot with the Magen Avraham. The Mechaber of the Sefer goes back. I'm not sure this is the right one. No. This is not the right one. This is not the Nazir Shimshon on Shulchan Aruch Chaim. That's a Hasidic Sefer we just had on our screen. once again, I'm getting up just to take my Shulchan Aruch out. So as I said, the Zira Shimshon was the Rav in Hamburg, going back 300 years. And he is one of the Gedolei Yisrael. The Sefer was printed first time in Berlin 260 years ago. And in Timentov Kuf Nun Daled. Fascinating. So I don't know whether we have it on a screen. In my Shulchan Aruch, it is printed at the back. So whether we'll have it on the screen or not, let me read to you. I'm reading out of the Sefer. Shaila. Yoledes o choylek tzas she'ein yochel le'es'anos kol halaylo v'hayom. V'roitze le'es'anos miktzas kedei letzayer im hatzibur. Im yesh le'es'anos oisoi miktzos b'yoyim kivin shu ikar hatanis. V'halaylo hava rak le'goydel ha'chumra oy le'es'anos tefer betchilas halaylo. ולהתחיל עם הציבור, שמא יוסיפו לו כוח מן השמיים גם לגמור עם הציבור. Natalie, the Yes'ana Beyoim. And that is a big chiddush. And his argument is, we see from other Taniyos that the Ikar Tanis is Biyom V'lo B'layla. All the other fast days, besides Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av, are only by day. Simatov Kuf Ayin Hey, we have this system when there's a famine in the land. Misanan Umerian. And in Masechet Tanis, and once again in Shulchan Aruch Simatov Kuf Ayin Hey, this very elaborate system. We start with davening. And then in stage number 1, we only fast by day. And if the famine doesn't go away, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't give rain, we start fasting by day and by night. So then Zira Shimshon argues, the Ikar fast is by day. Night is as if in addition. And therefore, it is preferable to fast by day and eat by night. And that is a chiddush which is unprecedented, because all the other poskim say, as long as you could fast, you need to fast. When you could no longer fast, either because of your subjective feeling or because of doctor's orders, then you break the fast. He is the only one that comes up with this gewaltige chiddush that it is better to eat at the beginning of Tisha B'Av by night in order to fast by day. We would argue if you wait by night, you can no longer fast by day, because you're not fasting any longer. So this is the gewaldige chiddush of the Zira Shimshon. And the fundamental question is similar to the one we asked before. Shower or drink? So from Yom Kippur, you learn that showering is far more lekula than drinking. Chila v'shti is kodesh. The chitz is either min haTorah or min haRabbanan. Would that be relevant l'gabe Tisha B'Av? So the similar question we ask. Yes, Shavuos b'Tammuz, Asura b'Teves, Tana says that all the other fast days are only by day, not by night. Is that relevant l'gabe Tisha B'Av? By Tisha B'Av, Gzeres Neviim, Leiloi Ki Yoimoi, like Yom Kippur. Would anyone argue this din by Yom Kippur? Eat by night to fast by day? Of course not. Yom Kippur is Kodesh day and night. It's the same, me'erev ad erev. And if Yom Kippur has the same din as Tisha B'Av has the same din as Yom Kippur, Me'echet Esa by Tisha B'Av to say that Layla Kal Min Hayom. Yes, for all the other fast days, it is only day, not night. But by Tisha B'Av, there's no difference, just like by Yom Kippur, there's no difference. And therefore, this Chiddush of Nazir Shimshon is really a big Chiddush. Ve'ein halachet k'moisei. So then Nazir Shimshon is a very chashuv sefer. And he's many times about book to the Mugan of Rome. And really chashuv Pesach, one of the Gedolim in Germany, going back 300 years. But this Chiddush is not accepted. And Masam b'chol yoim. Oh, wow. Oh, so in the new Shachanochs, we have the Yalkut Mefarshim. So here we have the paragraph I just read to you.
Line 5, nearly Pesach, line 5.
Yoledes Rechoylek Tzas. This is exactly what I just quoted. So that is a big chiddush of the Zina Shimshon, and as I explained, Ein Halacha K'moisei.
What about the shaila of the 2 tiny ice in the 1 week? That's similar to this?
In my sefer, I quoted that question. So then Nazir Shimshon also says, maybe you should start fasting, and b'siyata d'shmaya you will be able to finish the tzom. And that is a very relevant suggestion. However, as I mentioned before, sometimes it's doctor's orders. And this is what I need to do. I have kidney problems, and even though I feel good, I need to drink. Chas v'sholem, not to cause any medical complications. But if it's just your subjective feelings, I definitely think start the fast. Maybe b'siyata d'shmaya you'll be able to finish it. So I also quoted the discussion. And once again, I think this is a shaila that is not a real shaila. But the Eshel Avraham, Oyel, Moshe, many Achronim discuss the question. If a person knows he cannot fast both Tzom Gedalia and Yom Kippur, there's 1 week between Tzom Gedalia and Yom Kippur. Would we say eat Tzom Gedalia, you should be able to fast on Yom Kippur? Or would we say Tzom Gedalia, feel well, you could fast? Yom Kippur comes, we'll see, we'll deal with it. And that's a machlokes in Achronim. And in a way, might be the same regarding day and night by Tisha B'Av. So why do I say it's not a real question? Because b'derech hateva, you fast 1 day and you eat the other, you're back to be a war. So after 3 or 4 days, that fast has no ramifications at all. Once you eat a good meal, you're back to where you were. And definitely after a week. So in reality, there is no such a thing that because I fasted in Tzom Gedalia, I will not be able to fast in Yom Kippur. That's not realistic. So as many other questions, sometimes there are questions that are fascinating and they're just a springboard for discussion. And the fundamental question would be, do we take into account our matter something now because we want to be Mekayim something which is more chomer later, or we say, and what is now, and what is later, we'll deal with it later. And that is a fundamental discussion in halacha, even though I think the question of Tzom Gedalia and Yom Kippur is not a real question, because as much as I understand in biology and health and medicine, person fasts after a day or 2 days, he eats well. That fast has no ramifications moving forward. So let me share with you what psak I gave, and I want to give a short introduction. Usually when I give a psak, I don't mind when people disagree with me. I think it's totally legitimate. If I would have a k'peda to someone that disagrees with my psak, I would be such a stupid Baal Gaiva. And I'll explain to you why. We've been learning together for years. And you know that sometimes I disagree with the greatest of Achronim. Ba'achnoa, Ba'anova, I'm fully aware they were giants and I'm a little midget. But I used the muscle of Isaac Newton when Newton was asked, how do you dare to disagree with Archimedes, the Greek, who was such a genius? And Newton says, Archimedes was a giant. I'm a midget. But I'm a midget that stood on the shoulders of giants. So I see farther than they have seen. Why do I quote Isaac Newton? Because 400 years before Isaac Newton, we find this very same muscle in Tosfos Rid, Rabbeinu Yeshayahu Rishon was one of the Rishonim. And he writes, Omru philosophy. The philosopher said this muscle. So many times I disagree with the Samsoiv that says and if I would think somebody is not entitled to disagree with me, I would be insane. That would be such stupidity. So, of course, I don't mind if people disagree with me, but this psak I hope everybody will agree with, and nobody will try to dispute. Yesh la'ayin. The Novi Zechariah promises. Some Raviv, some Chamishit, some Shvi'ivit, some Aseri, Yiu lebeis Yehuda, l'sosainu l'simchu l'moyadim toivim. So b'kora b'yameinu, let us hope. Kiyum divrei hanavi. Tisha B'Av should be a day of joy. We'll dance and we'll sing. Which day? Tisha B'Av or Asar B'Av? Rabbi Yochanan argues in Megillah Daf Hey. Rabbi Yochanan says, if I would be there in the days of the Chorban, I would say we need to fast Asar B'Av because Rubo Shel Heichal Nislav Ba'asor. And the Gemara says, so why did the Nevi'im decide that Tisha B'Av is going to be the day? Al Tchalte de Poranuta Odif. Because Tisha B'Av in the afternoon, the torch was set to the Beis HaMikdash. And that is when the flames started to consume the Beis HaMikdash. So even though the majority of the Beis HaMikdash was reduced to ashes, Asar B'Av, Tisha B'Av is the day. And my question is, when Tisha B'Av will be a Yom Tov, would it be Asar B'Av or Tisha B'Av? On one hand, I think Asar B'Av. That is when the house burned down. So as long as we fast and we cry and we mourn, it is Atchalte de Poranuta. But if it's going to be a day of joy, then the svara of Atchalte de Poranuta doesn't apply. On the other hand, the days of mourning will be transformed to days of joy. And the day of mourning is Tisha B'Av, not Asar B'Av. So my psak is, we will have Shnei Yomim Tov Mishal Tisha B'Av, like we have Shnei Yomim Tov Mishal Rosh Hashanah, not Sveike de Yom, but Shnei Yomim Tovim, we will have Shnei Yomim Tov Mishal Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av and Asar B'Av, and we will rejoice and eat and drink and dance and sing Tisha B'Av and Asar B'Av. So the question is not yet relevant. When it will become relevant, I don't think anybody's going to ask me. But I will try to make my psak public and send it around, and I hope Moshe Rabbeinu will agree. And what I know, I could just hope. So my psak is that Korah b'yameinu, when we will be zocher divrei hanavi, we will eat and drink and dance and sing both Tisha B'Av and Asar B'Av. Halavai shenizkeh lekach. So we should be zocher divrei hanavi, tzom haravi, tzom hachamishi, tzom hashvi'i, tzom ha'aseri. Yihiyeh lebeis Yehuda, l'sosain u'lesimcho u'lamoyadim tovim b'mheiro v'yameinu. Amen. So have a list of Tisha B'Av, but if Mashiach does not come, then have a tzom kal and a meaningful Tisha B'Av, and we should be zocher b'korah b'yameinu to the Geula Shalem.